So right before you are going to close on the purchase of your house or the sale of your house, you're going to get something called a estimated closing statement. What the hell is on that? That's what you get from the escrow company that has all the numbers, dollars, and cents on it. We're going to talk about just a couple of those entries in one sec. Welcome into the Real Estate Minute Show. Thanks for stepping in for a couple minutes. We're talking about closing statements. This is, if you're selling a house, this is that fun statement you get that's showing you the huge buco dollars at the bottom that you're going to get after you sell your house. If you're a buyer, it's all the money that you're spending on the house. Equally as exciting though, but there's some entries on there that you may have questions about, that you may see, you may be kind of shocked. But really all a closing statement is it tells you if you're buying the house, what you're paying for the house, the costs of buying it, what your lender's charging you, paying some little minutia expenses on there. And then there's also something called prorations, which we're going to talk about today. And prorations are generally the property taxes in most cases. There's also some prorations for homeowners association dues, and a couple others as well. But we're going to focus just on kind of the property taxes because it applies to all the other prorations. So you essentially, in California, for instance, you pay taxes from July 1st to June 30 the next year. Okay, that's the California fiscal year. California lets you pay it, for instance, in 2 installments. So by the middle of December, by I think it's December 12th, 10th, you have to pay the first half, which is July 1st to December 31st. And you have until April, which I think is April 10th also, forgive me if I'm off a few days, to pay the second half, which applies to January to June. Some people pay the whole thing for the whole year. Some split it up into the 2 payments. They give you 2 stubs, you can pay them off. Well, what if you close your house like October 27th and you haven't paid the property taxes as the seller of the house, for instance? What happens? So there's a proration that escrow will do. If the seller hasn't paid the property taxes for that first half and the buyer is going to own the house for part of that second half, meaning like October 27th, for instance, to December 31, the buyer is going to step into the seller's shoes. The buyer is going to have to pay the property taxes because they're not due yet till December 10th. You could pay them early, but they're typically not due, and you're right on that cusp where you may not even know what the taxes are yet. So the buyer is going to have to take over that responsibility. Well, they didn't own the house from July 1st to October 27th, that chunk of the first half. So what happens? So escrow does a proration for all those kinds of things, depending on who has to pay it and who's going to get a credit for it. So if the buyer in that instance is going to have to pay the first half of the property taxes after they close on the house, the seller's not getting a free ride from July 1st to October 27th. They're going to actually have to issue a credit to the buyer, meaning dollars in the buyer's pocket on their closing statement for that amount of time. That's a proration. And so that's when you see all these really odd numbers that are around there and how those numbers are kind of coming and going. Pay attention to them because I find errors from time to time on the escrow statement. Just because something comes from the escrow company doesn't mean that it's perfect and somebody didn't make a human error. So with my clients, I always check the statement with them and go over any questions they have and actually calculate the prorations on my calculator. I come pretty close. Sometimes I'm off a penny or two. But that's what the prorations are. So pay attention to your closing statement. Don't just sign it as a kind of foregone conclusion. Talk to your agent about it, talk to the escrow company about it, and get a calculator out and add it up real quick. All right? Have a great holidays. We might be off for a couple weeks on the show. If we don't have a show the next week, I want to wish you guys a happy holidays, happy new year. 2021 is going to crush it much better. Okay? Take care.